Hello everybody, this is the story of Peterbilt. Did a mini-series earlier, but now I'm going to make a full-size one. I hope you enjoy it. Have a good day. Thank you.
In 1939, the Fagioli plant in Oakland opened for business as Peterbilt Motors Company. As part of the design process, Peterman and his company engineers sought input from truck owners and drivers. Initially planning to develop chain-drive trucks for the logging industry, the company transitioned towards vehicles for highway freight transport. In April 1939, Peterbilt released its first vehicles for public sale, the Model 260 and the Model 334. Both vehicles were equipped with an all-steel cab, trimmed with plywood sourced from Peterman-owned lumber mills. In a tradition lasting 40 years, single rear-axle trucks started with 2, and tandem rear-axle trucks started with 3. The first Peterbilt vehicle was a fire truck chassis built for Centerville, California. To supplement its revenue, Peterbilt continued servicing and refurbishing trucks from all manufacturers. Like and subscribe. In 1941, Peterbilt created the heavier-duty Model 364, initially developed for the logging industry. The 364 was repurposed for military production for World War II. In 1942, the company developed its first cab-over-engine truck, derived from the 260. By 1944, production increased as Peterbilt secured a contract to supply 224 military trucks. In November 1944, T.A. Peterman died from cancer, leaving the company to his wife, Ida. In 1945, Peterbilt resumed production of civilian vehicles and introduced lighter, aluminum-built cabs. In 1947, Ida Peterman sold Peterbilt Motors Company to a group of company managers and investors. In 1949, Peterbilt released the second generation of trucks, featuring the iconic iron nose and bubble nose COE models. This is the 1954 Model 351, a milestone in truck design. During the early 1950s, Peterbilt innovated with the dromedary cargo system. In 1953, Peterbilt introduced its iconic red oval emblem. In 1954, the Model 280-350 was redesigned, becoming the Model 281-351 narrow nose. This redesign introduced a larger, wider cab for the COE models. The shorter hood Model 341 was built for heavy-duty, vocational applications. In 1958, following a decline in truck sales, Ida Peterman announced plans to redevelop the factory site as a shopping center. Rather than take on the large investment, the owners chose to sell Peterbilt Motors Company in June 1958. The company was sold to Pacific Car and Foundry, a Seattle-based company specializing in railroad freight cars. The new owners began the relocation of the company, keeping it in the San Francisco Bay Area. In 1959, construction commenced on a 176,000 square foot facility in Newark, California. For 1959, the Peterbilt 281-351 COE was replaced by the 252 COE. The new design introduced a tilting cab to allow better access to the engine while upgrading to quad headlamps. In August 1960, the first Peterbilt trucks were assembled by the Newark, California factory. Peterbilt debuted a redesigned Unilite cab with larger windows and a new interior. Pacific Car changed Peterbilt's ownership status, making it a division and sister company to Kenworth. In 1965, Peterbilt introduced the Model 358, the first with a tilting hood and the iconic bird hood ornament. By 1972, a fiberglass hood was added as an option for the Model 358. Today, the essence of the original Peterbilt designs remains, continuing the legacy of innovation and reliability. In 1966, Peterbilt expanded its model line, reintroducing heavy-duty trucks like the Model 383. In 1967, Peterbilt introduced the Model 359, which featured a larger grille and a tilting hood. By 1969, Peterbilt expanded its production capability, opening a facility in Madison, Tennessee. As part of a cab design revision, the 282-352 COE adopted the name Pacemaker. In the 1970s, the Peterbilt 310 COE became an iconic truck, serving various industries with reliability and style. The Peterbilt 282 COE, with its single-axle configuration, was a key player in transportation during the same decade. Introduced in 1970, the Model 348 marked a significant shift with its angled fiberglass hood, designed for vocational use. The Model 349, similar in design but with a larger grille, was another step forward in Peterbilt's innovation. Peterbilt's collaboration with Kenworth led to the creation of the CB300, a low-cab COE designed for refuse transport. In 1972, PACCAR, aiming to exit steel manufacturing, introduced its current name and focused more on vehicle production. The same year, Peterbilt launched the 1100 series cab for its trucks, featuring larger windows and a taller design. While a jet turbine engine prototype was developed, it never reached mass production, but it showcased Peterbilt's drive for innovation. In 1973, the Model 353 was introduced as a construction-oriented variant of the 359, featuring a wider grille. Production at the Madison facility was doubled, allowing Peterbilt to deliver 8,000 vehicles yearly. In 1974, a setback front axle was added to the 359. In 1975, Peterbilt expanded its manufacturing base, introducing Peterbilt Canada in Sainte-Thérèse, Quebec. Sized between the 353 and the 383, the 387 was another heavy-duty truck developed primarily for off-road use. The 352 COE underwent a model revision, becoming the 352H to accommodate larger engines. After a 22-year model run, the 281 351 was retired in 1976, having transitioned to flat steel fenders in the early 70s. The larger grille 359 became the start of the iconic 9 series. In 1977, Peterbilt assembled its 100,000th vehicle, a long-hood Model 359. The model line underwent minor revisions as the cab received a revised dashboard. It included an optional 63-inch sleeper cab with a walk-through entry, a first for the model line. For 1978, the CB300 was replaced by the Model 310. Again shared with Kenworth, the 310 was a new generation of the low-cab COE model line. By 1979, Peterbilt began to revise its model nomenclature. Phasing out separate designations for single rear-axle trucks, all trucks began to use model numbers starting with 3. Regardless of drive configuration, Peterbilt continued to innovate and mark its place in truck manufacturing history. In 1980, the Model 383 was discontinued, largely replaced by the smaller 353 and 387. To expand the vocationally oriented 348-349 model family, a lighter-weight highway tractor with a sloped nose was added to the model line. The 349H was offered with a straight hood. In 1980, Peterbilt introduced the Model 397, the largest vehicle ever designed by the company. Only 2 397s were assembled, one in 1980 and one in 1982. Peterbilt opened its third manufacturing facility in the United States, located in Denton, Texas. The company opened an 80-acre, 435,000 square foot assembly facility. Peterbilt's legacy of innovation in trucking continues to this day. In 1981, the Madison facility began assembly of the Model 362 COE. Replacing the 352H, the 362 was the first completely new COE from Peterbilt in 22 years. Distinguished by its larger, more aerodynamic cab and a functional interior, the Model 362 stood out. Several axle configurations were offered, including setback front axles and all-wheel drive. In total, 6 cab configurations were offered, ranging from 54 to 110 inches in length. In 1986, Peterbilt commenced a series of massive changes within the company and its product line. After 26 years, assembly operations ended at the Newark facility as production was consolidated in Denton. Peterbilt revised its vocational lineup, offering raised roof sleeper cabs for the 359.